PETA, podcast every day in April, where during the month of April you'll hear about different topics and different stories and discussions that I have on my mind and on my heart to discuss and address for this month. It may be sports related, it may be stuff related. You may even hear some guests on the show that you may haven't even seen or heard from me addressing on the show. But this is PETA, and this is Podcast Every Day in April. Hope you enjoy. Episode 175 of The Past is here. What is going on, y'all? I am your host, BT, with yet another episode on tap. Thought I was prepared. I thought I put the mic cover on my mic, but obviously I didn't. So I will go ahead and forewarn you, I may be a little louder than normal, so just flow with it. Anywho's, we'll do all our specs and details at the end. But what I'm going to do is, today's topic, as you can see, is called a musical rant. And it's just kind of an observation I had, which kind of triggered a podcast. So it may be long. It may not be long. It's going to be a fun topic to think about. And it's kind of going to be a way for listeners of music to kind of take time to open their ears a little more than normal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read off some numbers. And then I'm going to tell you what these numbers are. And then we'll just kind of talk it out. 531 million, 54 million, 219,000, 144,000, 459 million, 150 million, 103 million, 659,000, 361,000, 2.6 mil, 12 mil, 2 mil, and 636,000. So a lot of you are probably thinking these are figures as far as finances that singers make, or it could be related to a plethora of things related to the musical industry. Well, it is related to the musical industry, but these are the amount of times that different artists' songs are played on YouTube. Now, first and foremost, because I know it's going to be addressed, and I'm going to go ahead and get the elephant out of the room early. Streams of YouTube are kind of a subject to subject matter in the sense that a lot of streams are unfinished streams, and or you also have more people who are streaming from their devices, since we are in like a 1999 era as far as streams for services such as Tidal, Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, Pandora, the list goes on and on. But the first one that I named, the 531 mil, that was Kodak Black. Cardi B, Bodak Yellow. Stir Fry for Migos had 54 mil. My nose. Me in this fight today. Beyonce 7-Eleven, classic throwback, had 459 million. Kanye West, another classic, 150 mil. SZA with Kendrick Lamar, The Stars, had 103 million. Aquemini, you looking at 2.6 million by Outkast. Tiny Desk, when T-Pain performed, it gained 12 million views, because that was a different viewing of him, because you normally expect auto-tune, which he didn't have. Robert Glasper with Jill Scott was 2 mil. Then your lower ends, those lower amounts, Yebba, she just did a new song called Evergreen, which is relatively new. It has 144,000 views. 219,000 was PJ Morton, How Deep, which featured Yebba, which was from the Gumbo live performance. If you have not listened to that and you're a music snob, I would definitely recommend that. Sci-Hi the Prince, No Dope on Sundays, 659,000. Big Crit, I've turned into kind of a undercover Big Crit fan, low-key. Undercover, low-key, whichever how you want to put it. 361,000 listens or views of Mixed Messages. The Thundercats, so there was an artist group called Thundercat they did an album called Drunk. The full album had 636,000 views. I just want you to understand that's the album, not just like it's one track, but it's the entire album that was played. 636 views. So why am I bringing all of this to attention, and why is this something that is has sparked my interest? Mainstream matters. And here's why I say that. If you really go and listen to music, most people are in the I want a good beat and a decent hook. It doesn't even have to be a good hook anymore. Like, artists can get away with halfway doing a hook, and supporters are going to support the artist. And for whatever reason, that can be a good thing, or it can also be a extreme, unexpected challenge. Because there are those artists who are under the radar that no one knows about, or that are like a lot of those artists that I did mention that are like that had lower amounts in views, are part of why a lot of the bigger artists are known, strictly because between collaborations, lyrical writings, if you go back, as many people know, artists such as Neo and Carrie Hilson, I don't know, Carrie Hilton, whatever her name is, Miss Carrie, baby, she that's the best way I can come up with it. She wrote for a lot of artists as well. But those artists on the writing side aren't going to factor into the views or the listens that are counted when it comes to music. A few weeks ago, I listened to, and y'all know I always talk about his podcast, Joe Budden's podcast. And they had a discussion and a conversation about listens and streams and plays or albums being bought, and how those metrics factor in to what's considered as album sales, or if an artist went platinum or double platinum or whatever the case may be. And a valid point was brought about, and that's why I'm bringing all of these to attention. Those listens and those hears that we look at, like I'm just looking at YouTube. I could probably go on iTunes or or Spotify. I'm just naming it. I'm sorry. Let me get the big three: iTunes, Spotify, or Tidal. And you could break down and listen. Look at different albums of various artists, and break down how many listens those albums have gotten, how many reviews were given, because there's two sides. There's if we gave this album 1 star to 5 stars, or did we actually write a review on how we felt about the album? This kind of almost ties into the customer service breakdown, as far as when you buy something from a store online and you rate it 5 stars, but you don't give a review, or you don't rate it any stars, but you actually write down what you liked or disliked about the product. Some of those can or can't be accounted for, and it's kind of like it kind of dwindles into that dark / gray area of the internet. I'm bringing this to light, and I'm saying all of this to just, like I said earlier, the small artists are why a lot of the big artists exist. And I know that probably will blow a lot of people's mind, but I'm going to give some retro Papaw music backstory to just kind of get people's ears a little inclined to reality. There was a setup that they had, I believe MTV did this, where it was called Next Level. And it would kind of, between BET and MTV, they would kind of introduce like new artists, up and coming artists. If you hit that up and coming artist cue or that flow, that meant something, because that was leading to, hey, in a couple of months, soon we're going to expect an album or a LP or whatever to come from this artist. In most cases, it did. Chrisette Michele was a prime example. She, got on the scene, did did a few songs that was catchy, and then she dropped an album, which led to doing singles. Now we're in a stage where in 2018, and I really, as a music fan, I had to accept this, and I know a lot of people who listen to music can kind of don't care about it, but I'm one of those ones that do. Album sizes have shrinked, and one of the reasons that it shrinked, which is evident, is interludes, and just added space to kind of fill a worthwhile album. An album now, you can listen to an album that can have 6 songs, and that's a full album, or that's considered to be a full album. And it also depends on projects, time management, things of that nature. So every artist gets its exposure in different ways. You kind of have to heard it through the grapevine to hear a lot of the smaller artists, but the benefit of streaming sources such as an iTunes, a Spreaker, a Tidal, Spotify, is to get those artists that exposure. Because then you can kind of hear, oh, this is a new artist. I haven't heard of them before. Let me go look for their music and see what they're singing and talking about. And it introduces us to that other side of music where we're not in the kitchen, we're twist up like it's stir fry. I had to make sure I said it right, because if I didn't, I won't hear the end of it, and I'll probably still mess it up. So anyone listening, past podcast bt@gmail.com, I know you'll correct me. Point is, artists get their listens and their exposure in different ways. To put it even in more perspective, Drake just brought out his new single. Still no album coming yet. We know one is on the way. It's just a matter of if or when an exact date. But his new single, I can guarantee you, probably already has over 15 million views, if not more, because it's Drake. But if you have an artist, say a Tanashi, and a lot of people that aren't big fans of hers for their reasons, I'm trying to think of other artists, like, as I mentioned, Yebba, the Clark. Like if an artist like Missy Elliott were to come back, Missy would have a lot of catching up to do in music, and it's not her fault on that regard. And I'm saying that, and I'm probably gonna get chastised for making that statement. But it's not a knock against Missy. It's just how the music industry is now. So you have to just kind of learn and flow with how music is heard. Like, okay, Drake's new song right now on YouTube has 37 million views. It's been a week. You go back, obviously, like, I'm naming a lot of commercial, and that's the other side of it. I'm going to say this and I'm going to leave it alone. A lot of artists, we're now in what's known as the commercial, non-commercial era of music. So if you're an artist and your album is platinum or it's a huge hit and we all over and we love it, great, cool. You'll get spins, it'll get attention. As you become mainstream, that's how you get through the radios, things of that nature. You learn about other artists a lot of times through word of mouth. So if I'm, and most of my friends know, and that's why in a couple days I'm breaking my neck. Y'all don't know it because it's in the background, but I'm busting my tail to get back on Apple Music because I got something in store for y'all. That's all I can tell you. I've always had an ear for music, and I love to listen to music. And it doesn't matter if you're Rick Ross, Jay-Z, Biggie, Tupac, Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj. I like all of the under the radar small name artists, because what we failed to realize was there was one point when Migos was not relevant, and I think a lot of people who listen to music still forget that Look at My Dab came from Migos, but we don't. We know them. More people know them for Bad and Bougie quicker than they would know them for Look at My Dab, or let alone the song T-Shirt. If you were a listener or had an ear at the time for the culture. So and I know I'm giving a lot of the mainstream artists the attention or the spotlight, but when you're on YouTube and they give you recommendations, look at some of those older videos or some of those other songs and artists that we really don't hear about in main stage, because then that will get you over to whatever streaming source you're using to listen to a Robert Glasper, to listen to a Marsha Ambrosia, to listen to Flow Assist, to listen to Khalees when she was in her heyday, tearing it up. So that's what I'm here to give you all today. Is don't forget the small listens, because the small listens are why the big listens exist. And most of all, always, if I never say it enough, thank y'all for tuning in. I do appreciate every listen. I'm implementing something a little different now with my podcast. You'll still be able to, if you want to go and listen to on Spreaker.com, that option is always there. I always make sure that the links are in the best term to use it, hot and ready. But you can listen to the podcast on Spreaker. I do upload, and you are hearing my voice thanks to the Blue Yeti without the pop filter. Well, without the windscreen, because I'm using a pop filter, which I've finally in years realized the relevance of having one. But that's all random nonchalant. The part that I want to share that's important is on the past podcast page, there is an option at the bottom for anyone who wants to subscribe to my iTunes. If you're not subscribed, I would definitely recommend subscribing. And if you're doing it from your phone, it's even more convenient, because all you do is go to pastpodcast.com. It'll be a button at the bottom. Hit subscribe at the top. And if you listen to a couple shows and you get some feedback and have some input, leave a comment. Comments are welcome. Criticism is helpful. I did leave my email earlier, but I'll leave it again. Pastpodcastbt@gmail.com. Intro and outro is thanks to Grimecraft. And finally, if you are wanting to check me out and get information through social media, Past Podcast, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat when I use it. I'm getting into a groove with having some more Insta story fun, so check those as my sporadic moments occur. But that's what I'm giving y'all today. Use it, love it, be great, continue to be blessed, stay positive, stay in the right state of mind. That's how we get through things in our routine. And on that note, y'all take care. Pass signing out. The one point of the show I don't like to reach, but every show must have an ending. So you have made it to the end of yet another episode of the podcast Every Day in April. Continue to tune in. These will be going on from April the 1st until April the 30th. And I will guarantee you that there will be plenty of content and more than enough information to share and address during this show. Thanks for tuning in.